Hey guys, welcome to Robotalk. I'm Shreyas, your host, and along with me is Pranav, and also our guest today, Sparsh. So this is a show where we talk to people about who are actually building in hardware and about what it really takes, right? And there's a lot of noise about startups right now, but most of it's software, most of it's AI, and hardware is a bit different. It's a different game, right? Because it's physical, it's slow, and it really breaks in ways that software never really does. And the people who really pull it off, and they learn some things that you really can't get from a blog post. And those are the kind of conversations and those are the kind of people that we want to get onto the show. So our guest today is started actually building as a kid in Bihar and somehow ended up running a deep tech energy company startup before even finishing his degree here in NUS Singapore. Sparsh, welcome to Robotalk.
Thank you, Shreyas, for welcoming me. Love to be here.
Yeah. So a quick story about how me and Pranav had met Sparsh. So me and Pranav run a company called Robocred, where we're an AI compliance, so AI native compliance service, and we actually met Sparsh at an investor's house here in Singapore, which was packed with founders, amazing conversations, and he was one of the most interesting people in the room, right? So when we got to know a bit about him, we realized he was from Bihar. He's been building hardware ever since a kid, and something that was a really cool conversation that we had. He started building from a very, very young age. And one of the things that he built was a sewer cleaning robot, which he mentioned that he actually deployed back when he was just about 11 years old. And today he actually funded his way all the way to NUS by selling websites and also selling Minecraft maps that he made himself. Yes, he actually showed us a large Santa Claus that he made in Minecraft all by himself. So it's a very interesting way to make money. We'll come on to that and speak about that. But so he's here in NUS, just graduated. He's working on his startup Incy right now. But we'd rather hear it from him, right? So Sparsh, take it away. Give us a short introduction on who you are, what Incy is, and how you came about the thermal floater idea. Tell everyone what it is, first of all.
Awesome. Thank you so much for introducing me, by the way. I'm Sparsh. I'm the founder of Incy Tech, and what we do is we build floating solar panels. So traditionally, you have solar panels that convert light into electricity, and there are a lot of problems associated with current solar panels. They are either too inefficient in a lot of heat. So in tropical countries like where we are based in Southeast Asia, these solar panels go through about an average of 20 to 22% degradation every single year. So you're losing just 22% of electricity you can have in just heat, and nobody is noticing it. Even on top of that, the solar panels you build today can only generate electricity throughout the day. What do you do during night? Where do you get that electricity from during night? You have to build out either batteries or you have to come up with different ways, either burning natural gas or either burning coal. And we saw this as an opportunity to do something big. When I came to Singapore, I saw this massive opportunity in renewables. Actually, let me take it back from where I am from. So, I was born and brought up near Patna, in this city called Muzaffarpur, and Bihar isn't really known for its nicety. So, just born in a typical middle class family, always loved breaking apart things and taking and understanding how it worked, and was always that inquisitive kid. Moved to Patna in like grade 6 when I was about 10, and that's when I got access to this new lab at my new school, and I loved looking at that lab just from outside. I loved just passing by that lab, but that lab just used to remain completely empty. No people, but fully furnished with all the tools you need. Heat guns, soldering irons, you had your microcontrollers, Arduinos, 3D printers.
Gold
But
mine.
no one to use it. Exactly, a
Gold
perfect gold mine for a
Yeah.
maker.
For hardware.
But
Yeah.
yeah, no one used to use it.
Yeah.
So I was like, fuck it, might as well. So I just snuck into the lab one day.
Wow.
And I loved playing around with the things. I didn't know what any of those were, but I loved playing around with them. And we didn't used to have a laptop at home, but there was a laptop in the lab. So I literally started looking up things on the laptop in the lab on how I can actually use those things. One of the teachers caught me just trying to
Wow.
just sneaking into the lab.
Yeah.
I have no clue why the teacher didn't suspend me, but I was fortunate enough that the teacher was the lab in charge, and he was like, "Come again next day. I'll get you proper permissions." And
Wow.
from grade 6 till grade 12th, I haven't attended a single class in my school. Every
Really?
single day, I used to go to school. I used to do my roll call for the first period and rush to the lab just after the roll call ended
Yeah.
and spend my entire time in the lab just trying to build stuff.
Teachers never asked you? Like, oh, where's Sparsh?
It did. Uh, Fortunately for me, I somehow convinced my school principal to vouch for me.
Unbelievable Sparsh.
So he just used to vouch for me and was like, make sure he gets taken care of. Make sure you can actually send him to the labs. So that I was very fortunate to be able to have supportive people. Used to go to the lab and actually learn how to use all of those things. And by grade 10th, I was actually doing the computer, the MIT courses, the MIT open courses in electrical engineering and computer science. And
Brilliant.
used to learn online and using Stack Overflow and used to apply using the tools I had available in the lab. Built this. My first project I ever worked on was the sewage clog robot. A robot that could go into the sewers and actually remove the clogs from them.
Yeah.
And that really helped a lot of people in my area because sewers in India get really clogged up and people manually have to go in to clean them up.
Yeah.
So proposed it to a few municipalities. They really liked it. Took it to the state government.
Wow.
Applied for a grant with the state government. Got it, but never really got onto building it because at that time I didn't really know how to sell it as a proper business.
Right.
So never really got to scale it up. But that taught me a lot about how electronics and engineering actually works. So
That's amazing.
learned that, got rewarded. I think we got rewarded by the IT Minister of India at the time and
Wow.
the CEO
That's
of
top.
Intel.
Wow.
So got a lot of exposure from it,
Mm-hmm.
and no one supported me to do any of it. My parents hated every single time I used to just sneak into the lab because teachers used to complain to my parents that I don't attend any of the classes. And of course, like as every parent should, they want their child to study.
Because
But-
it's different from the normal, right?
Exactly. It's very different from the normal. But being a rebellious kid, I still used to do it and I used to come back home, still
Yeah.
study,
Yeah.
and still used to get good grades. So
That's amazing.
somehow managed that.
Yeah.
My parents one day came to the school trying to complain to the principal because some teacher told my parents that I don't attend their classes.
Oh my God.
And then the principal actually fired the teacher that that snitched
What?
on me. And immediately on the same
That's
day was
amazing.
like,
That's so good. Like,
exactly. He gave me a 20,000 rupee grant to work on whatever I was building on at the time. And that technically on my first pre-seed investment into the thermal flow.
Unbelievable Sparsh.
that's
So you
Yeah.
actually believe that you really need support from, at least a little bit of support from people around you to actually facilitate that interest, that hobby, the facilities, like you said, the 3D printers, the labs. If those teachers didn't, let's just say all the principal also was, like, hey, Sparsh, you can't, you just got to be in class, you got to study. If you're free, you can go to the lab. Do you think that really changed your perspective and actually made you really love building, making, etc., that you had these people who actually were like, hey, Sparsh, go to the lab, it's okay, I will ensure that whatever the teachers are saying, complaining, I will handle them? Do you really believe that really changed it?
For sure. It has to be, your curiosity has to be simulated in a very natural way. If you try to either build it up artificially, if you try to build it up, if it doesn't get built up at all, I don't think your inner child will actually get simulated enough for you to love the things that you're passionate about. I, at the time, was really passionate about hardware. I still am. And I feel like the ability to do what I really wanted, rather than just focusing on what everyone was doing, made me stand apart. And I think that is what everyone should be doing. Like, just focus on what you love. At least try as best as you can to do whatever you want to. I used to take back equipment from the lab to my home just to try to build while I had free time in my home. So, although it wasn't legal, but but you try your best to to
Stay out
learn,
of trouble.
right?
Yeah, and
to
learn.
stay out of trouble and learn.
Absolutely.
So I think that is what helped me learn. And of course, you also have to focus on studies. I'm not saying you shouldn't study.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I used
But
to go
focus
to
on what you love.
Exactly. Focus on what you love. And it's also about how you manage things. Right? I used to learn stuff at school about how to actually build hardware, and then study the general curriculum at home, which I was confident enough that I could actually do. So
Absolutely.
you have to know
Yeah.
your own
Yeah.
capabilities, where you actually
Absolutely.
need help, and what you can actually do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Maybe you can give us, us and the audience a bit intro into what Incy does. I mean, you'd given them the intro, but how did it really come about, right? So you were
Yes.
talking about the thermal floaters. Maybe you can just give a short, how it really works, with the trapping the energy, etc., generating energy. And, how did you come up with the idea of Incy?
Uh, so it actually started just after I ended my grade 10th, when we were stuck in COVID lockdown in Bihar. I mean, everyone was stuck throughout the world. And Bihar, again, isn't known for its nicety. So we used to go through a
Yeah.
lot of blackouts.
Yeah. Yeah.
And blackouts during the summer are especially worse.
Yeah.
Because
The heat.
you suffer through heat of more than 50 degrees Celsius on average. And I just published a paper in Nature on how hot it actually gets in Bihar in just homes in the slums around. It can get up to 62 degrees inside the homes. So it gets really hot, and that too when you're suffering a blackout, when you have no electricity, no aircon, no fans, and those blackouts can last up for weeks. You're going through intense heat waves, and that's not normal to go through such intense heat waves. So, as pissed as anyone would. So I was like, why is this happening in the first place? Let me start looking into it. I started looking into it, and I found out that our city was running out of coal.
Okay.
But even if it was running out of coal, it was switching to these solar panels that were nearby our home. But this solar farm, because of so much heat, started degrading in its capacity. So these solar panels degraded about 30% in capacity in so much heat, which was insane to me because at that time I just understood light goes into the solar panel and that light gets converted into electricity. And during summer, you get the most amount of light. So shouldn't it be producing more electricity and not less? And that didn't make sense to me. So I again then started looking into it, and I found out that solar panels actually suffer a lot during the heat. And that's why these tropical countries that we are in, your solar panels typically have a lot lower efficiencies than they are rated for.
Yeah.
So that didn't make sense to me. I started looking into it, started building, started thinking of new ways I could actually improve on these solar panels. But then all of these solar panels are limited by how much electricity these can make.
Right.
So solar panels work on this physics limit called the Shockley-Quasar limit, which says that solar panels can produce more than 33 to 35% of the total energy incident
Correct.
on them.
Yeah.
So you're limited by how much you can produce. And solar panels today are reaching 25%, with some perovskite tandem cells reaching 35%. So using the as much as you can, but it's still 35%. And 35% is not a lot. You, of course, can do a lot better. So I thought, what if we instead switch the limits? And at that time, I was applying to colleges in February when all the US colleges had closed. Started applying to all the Asian colleges. I applied to all the IITs in India because that's what I was aiming for. And due to COVID, all of those results were delayed. So I got accepted into National University of Singapore, and I was like, this is all the best deals I can get. So might as well take it. And at that time, my mom read that the tuition fees was $1,300. On the flight to Singapore, I read that the tuition fees was not $1,300, it was $13,000. So, just because of a zero not being read, I was on a flight to Singapore, on a flight to NUS, but I had no clue what was in stock for me. I came to Singapore, and the first thing you see from the flight to Singapore is the massive array of solar panels floating on water. And that's really surprised. That really intrigued me. A solar panel can even float on water. And I kept that in the back of mind because I was still developing the thermal floater back then. I came to Singapore, had no money in my account. I came with $200 in my bank account thinking that, oh yeah, I can survive at least like a few months on this. I came here, I knew no one, and I was like, well, I have to make about $12,000 more to be able to fund my graduation because our parents cannot fund anything in a semester. So what can I do? And at that time, I had started selling Minecraft builds, as you mentioned, to
Yeah.
actually make money. So I was like, Minecraft makes a little bit of money, but not that much. What am I good at? And I was learning website design at the time. I built a website for this company called Keychron.
Yeah, the
Before
keyboard,
coming
the
to Singapore.
company.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the keyboard company. And they paid me in a keyboard. But it's like website design seems interesting. It's something I'm good at. So let me start doing this. And I always loved doing art and design. Started selling websites to different startups. The first website I sold to a startup was for this company called Possible Foods,
Yeah?
led by Samek and Arman,
Arman,
two of
yeah.
my closest friends. Samek paid me $35 for my first website that I built
Wow.
for him. And that wasn't a lot, but I started building websites. I started getting good at it. The second website I also built for the company for about $700. And then I started pitching to more startups. I started to find more startups. Went from $1,000 website to $5,000 website to $10,000 websites. Started just pitching to startups. Scouting startups that are good at this. Family businesses that had a lot of money. And the best ones that made me the most money was that I just started going off to places that I love. I started going off to restaurants that I saw had a bad design, but they had a lot of potential. So I used to go to this restaurant called Pepper Castle in Holland Village and just used to ask, hey, let me do your brand design. Let me do your website design. Let me make videos for you. Started doing video editing, started doing different jobs for them. Similarly, did different jobs for other restaurants. And through that, made some money. And all the money that I was making was I was putting towards my tuition fees. And every single dollar that I wasn't putting towards my tuition fees, I was putting towards building my own form of renewables, which I saw had a lot of potential. And as I mentioned, I saw these floating solar panels. In Singapore, 4% of Singapore's entire energy supply is just supplied via floating solar panels and 1% via land-based solar panels.
Wow.
And
Okay.
Singapore is the only country that has this many solar panels in proportion with how much electricity it generates. And this was really surprising to me. How could a country just use floating solar panels? But it made more sense to me to realize that countries are now running out of land and will eventually run out of land. But the 70% of the earth is water. So why not utilize that? And it has a lot of benefits other than just land constraints. Solar panels are very slow to implement on land. It takes about 3 to 5 years to be able to actually connect a solar panel to the grid. But with floating solar panels, that time is much shorter. It only takes less than a year to connect a solar farm to a grid because you deploy on the reservoirs, you deploy on existing fields that are already there, and then you connect it to the existing dam reservoirs that are already built up. So you don't have to build your own connection system. That makes the process faster. And that's why the entire industry is now slowly moving towards floating solar panels all across Southeast Asia. But if floating solar panels are the new goal, why do we not have a solution specifically for floating solar panels?
Yeah.
For reservoirs? Why are
Yeah.
they still retrofitting a solution made for land on water?
Into water. Yeah.
Because these devices are not meant to be deployed on water, they're meant for land. So what the industry currently what it's doing is building this panel, deploying it on the water by just putting it on some buoys. And they're still facing the same inefficiencies with heat, still only being able to produce during the day, still stuck with it. So I was like, this gives me so much to work with. If this is an expanding industry, I think I can potentially take advantage of this newly expanding industry. And I started to build what we build today, which is thermal floaters. So started engineering this from ground up, and I saw that the limit of heat, which is the total efficiency that you can get from a heat-based source, is much larger than what you can get from a light-based source. So if you work with the Carnot limit, it has a theoretical limit of about 69% as compared to the theoretical limit for Shockley limit, which is about 35%. So even incremental improvements can be done a lot in a higher limit. So we started to build these devices to harness just the heat from the sun. And what we do today is these devices convert purely just the heat from the sun into electricity. So I can actually pull up one of my devices for you. So this is what one of our devices looks
So
like.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What each of these devices do is you have sunlight coming from the top, and this lens that's on the top just concentrates all that sunlight, which creates a lot of heat. Then at the bottom of your device is a heat sink, and that heat sink stays underwater. So that is at ambient water temperature. Now, this forms an extremely large temperature difference between the top of the device where light is being concentrated and the bottom where it's being cooled by the water. And what we can do is put a really nice semiconductor in between the hot and the cold sides and let the electrons just flow from the hotter side to the colder side. And that basically creates electricity with the electrons flowing across this temperature difference from a semiconductor. Semiconductors already existed that can do this, but they were quite inefficient. So
Yeah.
it took us about 3 years to actually make our own semiconductors that had about 4 to 5 times the efficiency of current heat conversion semiconductors. And now you just put it in these devices, put it on any reservoir you want, be it reservoir, lakes, ponds, and then start generating electricity. But this is just the first step to what you want to build. Because we work on heat, we can generate electricity throughout the day. And that, instead of storing it in lithium-ion batteries, we can store it in blocks of carbon. These blocks of carbon can hold heat for a lot of time. And when these blocks of carbon hold heat for more than, blocks of carbon can hold heat for more than a day, we use that heat and then slowly disperse it to create electricity through our semiconductors. And that is how you want to change the way current solar systems and solar storage systems work. By building a solution like this, and by storing energy in just carbon instead of lithium ion, we can potentially bring down the costs by about 20 times.
Wow.
And that is what you want to do. And that is the
Yeah.
mission I started off with. I envision a day where I can look out at any water body, any sea,
And then you're seeing
see
what
it
you
entirely covered.
deployed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Powering an entire city by just thermal floaters.
So that's the long-term goal.
That's the long-term goal.
So maybe so I'm going to split this into segments, right, for this just general conversation. So I'm going to start off with, let's take some step backs. Like you were saying, let's go back to the origin and let's also target the long-term game itself.
Yeah.
So before Incy, you were telling us that you were building websites for Possible, for cafes, for other startups, family companies, etc. And you're also selling Minecraft maps. What did making this money, that early, teach you that today that you still use as a founder, right?
Right. I mean, one thing you learn that generally schools don't teach you is how to actually sell yourself.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if
Yeah.
you build a shitty product.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you build a really good product. The only bridge that's connecting you to the customer is how you sell it. And I feel like all I learned through my first 3 to 4 years while doing these is sales. That actually helps me as a founder now. Because I used to reach out to random restaurants saying, hey, I think your website is bad. Maybe I can improve it. But that didn't convince these restaurants to just give me money. I used to go, hey, I think I love your website. I love your food. But I feel like there's a lot more you can do. And if you just put another $100 into your website, that will allow you to make another $1,000 per month. So sell it. So by actually learning how to sell properly and by sort of literally A/B testing with a lot of these people, I actually learned how to actually outreach to these people. And we also learned a bit on shamelessness. You stop giving a fuck about you stop giving a fuck about rejections. We didn't get any grants for the first 3 to 4 years that we were actually building. And we got rejected by almost every single grant that we applied to.
Really?
Yeah. People are scared to take a bet until you actually prove it.
Prove something. Yeah.
Yeah. And as a founder with just my money, with just me putting my money into research, we didn't have anything to us. We just had simulations, some theoretical work, and base prototypes, which still needed a lot of work to be done. And I was asking for hundreds of thousands of dollars in grants. And I wanted someone to take a bet at me, but no one did. I got rejected by NUS initially. I got rejected by hundreds of companies in the world that had grants. But you also learn how to sell better. Every time you get
Yeah,
rejected,
yeah.
you learn this is what I should be saying, this is how I should focus myself. And that also taught me a lot about sales. And fortunately, one of our initial grants took a bet on us, Children's Climate Prize. They took a bet on us for 10,000 euros.
Wow.
And that helped us actually kickstart a lot of the work that I was doing initially and help us get more prototypes for me to get more grants. And then it's been going on from there.
That's great. So you really believe that you kind of have to fake it till you make it in some way or the other.
Definitely.
Like I mean, yes, you were talking about the sales way, but let's just say you want to get into a room where at the time in the beginnings you don't really feel that you were involved. I mean, you really should be in that room, right? But you kind of act like, oh, I know this, I know that, I'm doing this, this is what I'm building, and I deserve to be here. And only then you do get some sort of connection, some sort of leads, which can ultimately help you somewhere in life. So that is something you believe in, right? Like, because I was
Yes.
reading a LinkedIn post recently on it.
Oh, yeah. You do actually need to. Okay, fake it till you make it is a good abbreviation, but you also need to try to make sure you definitely make it and not just keep faking it. Because once you're
Absolutely.
faking it, you get used to faking it.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
you have to always believe in yourself and the products that you build.
Yeah.
And getting rejected actually boosts your confidence.
Yeah.
What if this person didn't accept me? Should I really believe in what others think of me, or should I believe in what I am building? And
Yeah.
that self-confidence helps
Yeah.
boost everything that you do.
Yeah. So, Pranav, you have something to say?
Yeah, so I was asking like, so you really also think like you should never quit and just be on it until it like really makes it, because you say like 3 or 4 years of rejection, it really breaks a man, right? Like, whatever I'm making, is it even like good enough, or I have problem in my product or something in me? It's
Yeah.
like,
You definitely have moments where you're at your lowest, where you lose hope. I 2 years ago was, I think, at my lowest point when no one was believing in me. I had no money to fund my tuition. I had nothing. But then I found my co-founder who actually gave me hope to believe in myself. So you do really need some form of external support to help you reinforce your beliefs. But if you keep going on the same path where you build a product, you're not getting any grants, you're not getting any funding, you're not getting any support from the customers, then we should also try to rethink. Resilience is good, but sometimes giving up is also good. I'm not saying you should, but sometimes you have to make sure that whatever you're doing aligns with the future goals. But we're sure that that product we're building is what the customers wanted, and we're always in touch with our customers. There's just a grant and the funding side that we were a bit sloppy on. And that, I believe, we just needed fine tuning from ourselves, and it was not a fault of the product, but rather how we were positioning ourselves.
presenting that time.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, I have a question, right? So, I mean, this whole segment was about your origin, the long-term game, and the struggles in between. How did it go for you from, hey, I'm a kid who was tinkering in my school's lab, my principal believed in me, I just love building stuff, I was building robots in school, to, hey, I'm going to start a company? Was there a specific moment where it flipped, you realized that, hey, this could become a money-making strategy, it could become a big company, and this is what I really want to do in the future?
I just love building products. I don't even remember when I started getting
I love
into
that.
this explicitly, because it feels like such a smooth transition, because you want to get your product out, you want to get what you build out to the world.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that's when you see the true implications of what you actually build. And I believe the best way to get your product out is to actually starting a business and then talking to your customers, actually getting it out yourself instead of letting someone else do it. being a product designer is a good job. But if you actually want to see your products out, if you actually believe in the products that you build, it you just have to be a founder for you to
Absolutely.
actually deliver it to the customers and truly understand why your customer needs it, why your customer should use it, and for you to experience the happiness when the customer actually loves your product.
Yeah, absolutely. So now you're on this topic of hardware, right? What is it? What is, what building in hardware is actually like? So Pranav is actually, I'm going to give it over to Pranav to kind of really
Yeah.
talk about, what building in hardware is like, ask you a couple questions that he has in his mind. So Pranav, take it away.
So like I wanna ask for the person like who has only ever built software, right? And he's gonna like, okay, I should build hardware and all. So what's the thing about hardware that genuinely shocked you for the first time? Like, oh, it's different from software.
It's hard. Hard. I mean, it's in the name. Honestly, it's really hard. Like, okay, let's say if you're building some sort of a mechatronics robot, your software is working perfectly, but your software suddenly stops working. You don't even know where that issue is. Whether your servo connection is loose, or whether you have made like shitty soldering joints. Like it can be a number of possibilities. But I feel like that is the fun in hardware. Trying to problem solve in so many different ways that you're just limited by software. And I'm someone who believes in actually feeling the products that I build. And hardware gives you that true feeling of actually being able to feel your product, feel the implications that it can give. Because, yeah, you can do a lot of cool things with software, but I feel like hardware is the only thing that allows software to be what it is today. For someone just building software, the transition into hardware can be a bit difficult as first. I used to work with a team of 3 software engineers to build this product that called YAR, for which we won the James Dyson Award, and none of them knew how to actually build any hardware.
Really?
But some of the some of the things that you learn doing software can still apply all the way to hardware. And the major thing that you learn in software is not coding, it's problem solving. The same thing doing hardware.
Yeah.
You're still solving a problem. It's just that tool has changed. You learn how to solder. You learn you connect these ports to these ports. You learn how to build circuits. But there's still a set of rules and guidelines that you can theoretically abide by, and just it's a slight steep learning curve.
Yeah.
But the trade-off is worth it. You get to experience how how your computers actually work. You get to understand, your code is actually staying in this register, in this memory value. You get to actually learn how it works, everything behind the scene, and then you can actually improve your software skills with knowing how hardware actually works. So I feel like every software engineer should actually know how to build hardware so that they can actually improve their code, because I feel like the current software ecosystem has gone down the drain mainly
Because
because
of AI?
no one is optimizing for tokens in AI. Everyone just wants more compute to optimize it, more compute, and more compute will solve everything. There's still a lot of inefficiencies that some people are solving today, but it's not the major focus. Compute is becoming increasingly and increasingly expensive because people are just building solutions that are not meant for the hardware that they're deployed on.
Do you think, like, currently, sorry, Pranav, am I just asking this one question which is on my
Yeah,
mind?
yeah, yeah.
So you said, most people who are building in software ultimately, because of problem solving, would understand hardware, right? Do you think it's vice versa also? Like, if you're a guy building in hardware, you want to, create a product, anything, you go from a idea to a prototype to an actual product. Software is also a very ingrained part in that, right? Like when you're
For
working
sure.
with microcontrollers, with Arduinos, with ESPs, with Raspberry Pis, you do got to know your software. And do you think that this kind of shifted because of AI, only because so hardware people right now just only focus on hardware, on CADing, on designing, and do you think that really has changed?
I feel it has, but I don't think AI will still reduce the amount of people that want to learn, want to learn proper hardware. Because people who learn hardware start from learning electrical circuits, and when they want to do something cool with the circuits, they go on to use Arduinos or microcontrollers, and they want to do something cooler, they start to actually learn how to program those circuits. And when you start to do that, you already know what's happening at an electrical level. So putting a software layer on top doesn't necessarily reduce the amount of knowledge that you have in that space. I feel like the people who are truly interested learn it anyways and don't just vibe code it. Vibe coding helps us as a tool, but the amount of difficulties you face in hardware is something you only learn by actually building hardware. Let's say if your ESP32 gets a port issue, so you can't fix it with software. You have to know. Oh, you have to press this reset button for like 5 seconds. Take out your USB, put it in again, and then reset it. So people who are actually inquisitive will end up learning it eventually. And I don't feel like AI is harming. I feel like AI has rather decreased the barrier to entering the space. Previously, you had to go through hundreds of Stack Overflow comments just to be able to find that small little issue that you had while building your hardware solution. And if it didn't exist, you didn't know what to do. You were stuck. You had to find out different solutions for it yourself, which took a lot of time. I feel like that time has now decreased, and people still understand most of what's happening when the code is uploaded to the hardware and how the code functions.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Okay. I want to ask, so was there a moment while building Incy or while building a thermal floater, like something really bad happened to the product, something physically failed, and if something happened, like what broke and how much time and money it really took to get back to the track?
A better question is, what things haven't broken yet? Because during a hardware process, everything has to break. Look, if you aren't breaking everything, I don't think you're building it correctly. But during the building of this device, this is the first version of a device that it took 2 years to just build the first version. We had to come up with our own semiconductors. I have no clue how semiconductors are made when I started off on this journey. I had to learn from scratch. Oh, this is how you make a semiconductor from scratch. This is how you synthesize it. This is how you train neural networks to find new types of compositions of semiconductors. And none of that worked, because when I used to find my own composition for a semiconductor, I used to send it to a lab, and the lab used to give me results that didn't match my simulations at all. So where am I going wrong? And I had no help to figure it out. So you still go through hundreds of literature papers trying to figure out maybe this is why it's wrong. And actually try to solve it. Like building our first semiconductor took us about 2.5 years, just refining the composition itself. And once he built it, it still didn't function. So we had to figure out why a semiconductor isn't generating electricity. And debugging that is a real pain in the ass, because you have no software to tell you if this error is going wrong. It's just a simple crystal, and you don't know where in that crystal lattice have electrons misplaced. Like, how do you figure out where in a crystal lattice structure has some electrons been misplaced? So it's a really interesting journey trying to figure out at a very hardware level, on like a semiconductor level, where things are going wrong. So you work with people already in the industry. We started working with people that are 50 years old, and it felt very weird for them to take orders from me. But it's their help that you need, and they are ones to actually guide you, because they actually know how a lot of this stuff works. And even aside that, we have so many problems in deployments. Like when we started deploying these devices, we didn't know what issues we were gonna face, because you don't know what you don't know. So when we started deploying these, algae started to get stuck in our heat sinks, and that was a pain, because how do you actually prevent algae from getting stuck in our heat sinks? How do you actually prevent so much UV exposure onto the actual device? Because at the end of the day, the outer casing is plastic, so you want to reduce UV exposure to the plastic to stop degradation. So there's a lot of factors that come into play. But once you start deploying these, once you start getting your results from customers, you know what's wrong with it.
Yeah.
And it takes a bit of time and a lot of money and hardware to fix it. It took us about 4 years to perfect the versions that we're delivering now.
4
I still
years.
don't- Yeah, I still don't think it's perfect, but it's what does the job now and what serves the market needs for now, and that's why we're putting it out in the market.
Yeah.
I think I can show you this. We built our very first. The major issues that we had was in our lens structure. So we made a very good type of lens that can concentrate light from any angle. This was the lens we built. It took us about $8,000 to build one lens.
$8,000 for
Yeah.
one, and this is made with acrylic.
Maybe the acrylic. So it's literally just plastic. $8,000 for a plastic, basically dome that I paid.
Is it because of the research that went behind it?
Yes. I mean, no, it's just the manufacturing
Fabrication
cost.
of it.
Fabrication cost. So it's made of one single piece of acrylic and it has small grooves inside. But because CNC machining doesn't give us the accuracy that a lens should have, we couldn't actually use this lens. This lens on this device is still imperfect. You can't even see inside of the device because it it has so many aberrations that you can't see to the inside of the device. A lens should be more like transparent or translucent. And this wasn't what we expected. And that was a big loss for me. So we put up another $100,000 in building a new lens that you could actually see through. So the only way for us to build a lens to our design was build a whole mold, a 2,000 kilogram mold that actually makes our lenses. And our lenses now look something like this. Let me, 1 second. So our lenses now look like this, which you can actually see through.
Wow.
Yeah. And these are the, I don't think you can see on camera, but these are the lenses
Oh,
with about a
drastic
10x
difference.
factor difference. And this is the best lens in the world. Like, I'm not saying it like, I'm not saying
Because
it
it's yours?
just because it's mine. It objectively is the best lens because it concentrates about 7,000 times. So, typical lenses can only concentrate about like 1,000 to 2,000 times. The best lens in the world can concentrate about 6,000 times. Our lens concentrates about 7,000 times. So we beat the world record of lens concentration by just making a really sick design.
wow.
So did you also apply for a world record, like some Guinness World Record or something?
Academic research, unfortunately, isn't world recordable, but we are soon to publish papers on this.
Oh, that's crazy.
So this kind of, goes to show that, when, like Pranav asked, right? Like, what is something that's physically failed on you? What broke? How much, it costs, etc. And this is a very clear example. You spent a lot of money, $8,000 to create a lens. It broke. It didn't work at all. It was devastating. Most people leave. Most people in hardware be like, leave it. I've spent 3 years. Nothing is working. Or, would just be really frustrated. What did it really take for you to be like, it doesn't matter. I'm bouncing back. I'm going to, raise more money, or I'm going to get more grants, or I'm going to use all the money that I have to go try another version, spend 10 to 12 times more than you spent on the $8,000 one. Go and spend $100,000, right? On getting a mold, getting that out there, and ultimately, you guys made it. You guys made the best lens in the world. Unbelievable. What did it really take? What went in you to be like, I'm going to do this? Is it just the belief in the product?
The passion and the belief in the product. We fully believe in the product that we deliver, and of course, we want to get the best product out to our customers, and this is what allows us to do that. And second is also just on the academic side. People have thought of lenses like these, but no one in the world has ever been able to make a lens like this.
Unbelievable.
And sometimes you also do things for boosting the general intellectual knowledge in the world. Like, if we didn't take the risk, no one in the world ever would have. And now we are going to publish a paper that actually dives deeper on how a new technology like this can actually be made. And as an engineer at heart, I love going to the the best the technology can deliver today.
Yes.
And I feel like this is what our technology has been able to deliver today, and this boosts both the intellectual knowledge in the world, and hopefully other people can then improve on my work and even make better lenses and better technology in the future.
Amazing.
Amazing. Okay, Sparsh. Actually, I have a question for the people who have never built in hardware, are in high school or
Yeah.
college, but really want to make a company like NC or any deep tech startup. Do you have any advice for them? Like, how should they start and like, what should they do?
My best advice is don't do deep tech. Deep tech is a very slow moving industry. Most people at a young age want to make as much money as possible, want to have wealth for themselves, create wealth. And wealth creation is slow in deep tech, but it has a lot of benefits down the line. But if you want to make money quick, I wouldn't suggest for people to get into deep tech. Mainly because if you are in deep tech, it takes you a lot of time to succeed. And you have to have patience and belief in yourself to be able to do that. If you don't have long-term patience, it's quite difficult to succeed in an industry like this because it's very cutthroat. Because even if you build a really good product, let's say if it took you 10 years to build a product, a lot of researchers have been working on their ideas for like between 10 to 15 years. And then let's say if the product actually doesn't sell in the market, just use 10 to 15 years with no outcome. And that cycle is much slower in other industries, like just general robotics hardware or general software as well. That timeline is a lot shorter, between 1 to 3 years, where you actually know when your product might fail or when your product might succeed. And that is something people should be aware about. Deep tech, as much as it might seem like a really cool industry to be in, it's also really cutthroat. And if you don't believe in it, you're gonna get the other side. But I really do, if people are actually really interested in following the passion into building the best technology, and if you are sure that your lifestyle won't be affected by not having any money for the next 5 to 10 years, go ahead and do it. It'll be the most fulfilling time of your lives, and what else you want in life except fulfillment?
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I think like after waiting 10 years, and if it really works out,
Yeah.
chances are low. But then it's a sweet journey, right?
Exactly. You are a gold mine, a brilliant founder. You become maybe a unicorn, you IPO, and I mean, you do all the crazy things that successful people do. But it's 10 years that are the hardest part of your lives. Going from 0 to 1 is hard, but going from 1 to 10 is even harder.
Yeah.
And that going from 1 to 10 takes 5 to 10 years.
But if someone really wants to go in this
Yeah.
industry, like how should they
Yes.
start? How should they go around it?
I feel deep tech is right now mostly surrounded by academic researchers. So going on it alone is a really difficult path. It is still achievable, but you need a lot of funding. I feel like that's where universities actually help. For people in high school, university isn't just a way to just study. It's none of the studies that you do in university is actually, as a startup founder, what you might use in real world. Some of it you might, but most of it is what you actually learn while building a startup and while going through the academic route. Most of the researchers who are into deep tech actually do PhDs, do the research using the PhDs, and de-risk their actual technology by the funding that they can get using their PhD programs. That is what actually allows deep tech product to be venture scalable. So most of the actual technical risk has to be de-risked by some sort of initial grant funding. And most of the grant funding in this industry comes from government funding, comes from academic funding. And I feel like people who want to go into university should make the full use of similar programs. NUS and NTU just got a $30 billion grant by the government to work on academic
30
programs.
billion.
Billion.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's called the RIE program, and the government just launched a $30 billion program for people to actually use a part of this funding for the research. And once that research has successfully been de-risked, that's how you get into ventures funding. But venture funding a hardware tech startup before even building the idea or before even having some form of proof is quite difficult because deep tech is heavy science, and for heavy science you need a lot of money, and VCs or just investors want as much return as possible, and investment in something like this space where it might just go all down the drain is quite risky. That's why that's why it's generally suggested to get as many non-dilutive grants as you can. We were able to secure about $1 million in non-dilutive grants, and from that we have been able to just de-risk our journey. But you have to be able to find people that you can work with in university. So let's say find a professor that you can work with, or find other PhDs that you can work with, and then use their network and leverage to actually start getting those grants. Because getting those university-based grants and research grants is what would actually allow you to de-risk your deep tech startup and then build out your crazy idea.
Yeah.
That's
Actually,
unbelievable.
Sparsh, yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, Sparsh, I have like an off-topic question, but like, do you have a message for the parents of like kids who are building stuff, and they're usually like parents say you should like normally study till your 4 years of graduation, you should not have many distractions, you should get a job, experience, and then you can think about what you want to do with your life. So, you have any advice for the parents who are watching this today?
To the parents, I feel you. My parents have the same reaction to whatever I do, and it's difficult to convince them as well. But if your child or if your kid is actually interested in this, actually interested in building a startup, or is actually interested in a really crazy idea, they're gonna make it in life anyways. Doesn't matter now, doesn't matter 10 years from now, they will do it because they have the passion. Passion is limited in the world. If you see people around yourself, be it in jobs, they live a decent life, but
It lacks passion.
it lacks passion. It lacks what you truly want to do. It lacks
Yeah.
that freedom, and limiting that freedom is not what you want to do to your kid. People, I know a lot of parents want the best for their kid, for them to have a successful job, a stable job, and going into deep tech or building startups is not stable initially. But every company that you see today was a startup once. And although there have been lots of startups that fail, but you learn a lot from those failures, and then you end up building bigger companies. No one succeeded on the first try. So even though your kid might build a startup, they might fail, they learn from that failure and then go on to do even better things after that. So even though that is good, there still should be a backup plan. For people in deep tech, I wouldn't say dropping out is the best way, because if you drop out in deep tech, it's a bad academic signal, which some VCs, some investors might not like. But if you're into just general tech, general hardware, and want to take a pause on the university, not even dropping out, you should still keep university as a backup plan, but maybe take a pause on the university, go all in into your idea, go to Silicon Valley, talk to people there, talk to investors there. The industry will itself tell you whether your idea or whether what you're building will be successful or not, depending on the reaction that you get from those people. And I feel like that should be enough for a child to either give you a boost or bring them back to the ground and go back to the backup plan and then go on as they were.
So, you should always take a chance, right?
Always take a chance.
Take the risk.
Have a backup plan, but take the risk.
This is the time where you can take the most risk because you have nothing,
Of
like you have
course.
no responsibilities, nothing.
Yeah,
It's just in college, yeah.
exactly.
I wanted to touch upon one thing. You said very clearly, go to Silicon Valley. You know, I've heard this. See, me and Pranav are building Robocred, right? We have been surrounded by crazy founders, just like yourself, right? Where we're mind blown, and you have told us, Arman, Samyak, who are building Anomaly Bio, have told us, go see what is there in Silicon Valley. What is it, Sparsh, that as a founder, when you go to Silicon Valley, that you see, be it a hardware founder, be it an AI, software, service founder, that Silicon Valley really holds? What is it that it holds there where nowhere else in the world? I'm saying be it in China, because me and Pranav spent 4 months in China, be it in, parts of Europe, be it anywhere in the world. What does Silicon Valley really have for these founders that you believe is worth of taking an LOA when you're building a startup, is worth to go dedicate some time and effort to go be there, build there, surround yourself with people there?
It's the people and the passion that they bring. Everyone you see there
Is building.
is building. Everyone you see there is following what they love. And that makes you just love the place. Like, I on the other hand, hate SF myself,
Oh,
mainly because there are not a lot of hardware founders there.
Okay,
But
yeah.
I love the people there. I can hate the place, but not the people. That's why I love the community it has built. Amount of people that are in the place that just love what they're doing. They're crazy people. People who dropped out from MIT just to build a really niche idea that they had in mind and are now making millions of dollars a month. People that would you not meet generally. Like, startup community in countries like Singapore and countries like India, they are there, but they're still very small. And I feel like going to the actual hub where it all starts from, where it's actually where most of the investors are, where most of the people are that are actually in this industry, helps you actually align yourself and align your visions to what the world actually expects from you. That also helps you clear it up in your mind that if it also it's also a bit about spite. If you see a guy that you believe that if you see a guy that has not done a lot and if he's like worse than you, but he has still done so much with the start, you're like, if this guy can do it, at least I can.
I can do it,
You're
yeah.
still motivated somehow, either by spite, either by seeing how other people have been able to do it, and that motivation is what you really want as a founder. Because that motivation is what will keep you going when you don't get any funding, when you don't get any grants, when you're stuck in the worst possible moment, when you have nothing for yourself. That motivation to be able to do what you truly want is what comes from SF. And I feel like that's why you should go to SF. Look at the people around there and just have a chat with them, have a coffee, find investors, don't pitch to them. Just talk to them, see how the industry is moving right now. What are they looking for? And why are they looking for it? It also helps you understand the industry better when you talk to similar people in your area. And SF has curated so many people with similar interests that you can find anyone with any specific niche. Whether you're in hardware, software, deep tech, bio, anything you can find in SF. And I feel like these niche communities intermingle so often that it's just a wide web of amazing founders that any of you would love to have a chat with.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the experiment is supposed to be under AI hardware. I mean, you've spoken a lot about it, right? I asked you, is AI changing, the way hardware founders work? You had mentioned that it's, vibe coding is used. It can be an lower barrier of entry to software, etc. But do you really think it makes a big change into hardware itself? We had a conversation a few days ago about, CAD tools. Because, see, me and Pranav are both hardware robotic engineers too. We love making this. We've faced a lot of, problems along the way, a lot of passion, just like you started building from early on, CADing, etc. And recently, you and me spoke about these auto CADing tools which are coming out, right? Which, do you really think such tools bring down the barrier for hardware or have the potential, or even do you think AI brings down the ability for people to get into hardware? Or do you think it's not? Do you think it's still at that level which it was, let's say, 3 or 4 years ago?
I think AI really brings down that barrier. It goes on to a debate about AI and creativity. It's a long debate, but for me, I think, yes, it does bring down the barrier. I've seen people who cannot do CAD but have so many ideas that they want to bring to life.
Yeah.
And what they're left with is just tools like GPT or Claude that can, GPT or other software that can just generate images. And that's all that they have today. And even though image to 3D models has been a thing, but as hardware founders, you know that they are not up to the specs that you want. They're not limited by the specs that you'd want in a device. And I feel like that has a lot of improvements to be done upon. But even the barrier right now, like one of my friends wanted to make a 3D model of a cool figurine that he saw. He went on to Gemini, made an image, took that image, put it into a image to 3D software, rendered that, and put it in a Bamboo Labs 3D printer. And this entire process was just so simple that surprising. It's just so simple now for that barrier to entry into making cool stuff. But if you're building like engineering product, if you're building a robot, there's still a large gap.
Yes, sir.
You have a lot of precise 3D modeling to be done.
Yeah, absolutely.
And AI, I feel like, will do that, will lower the barrier, but but it's basically like giving a boilerplate and then you start to improve on that boilerplate yourself. Because there's a lot of things to be done, and I feel like AI will be there in the next 4 to 5 years, where it can do all of the CAD work yourself. You still have to be there like software, right? You still have to be there as a guide to help it to actually do what it wants to do, for it to go from what you want to the end goal, what you desire.
Yeah.
And that gap is being bridged by AI, but you have to be the one that guides it from path A to path B.
Do you
Makes
think there's a
sense.
space right now in this conversation for people who are watching or for anyone to bridge the gap for hardware founders to get into hardware? Like you're saying, many people can't really CAD. Many people, can't, they can have ideas, they can be very creative designers, they can draw really well, but they lack certain skills. Do you think there's some space for people to build where there's a huge gap today in hardware?
I feel like this building a CAD software is a really big gap. Like for people, there's two gaps. One is a CAD software anyone can use. There are easier softwares like Tinkercad that a lot of people can use, but it doesn't really allow you a lot of flexibility. You have softwares like Onshape, where something like an AI tool can really help, but the AI tools still are not up to the mark where you can actually build. Let's say I want a pencil holder, then I still can't make that using the specs of my pencil, give it to Claude or some software and build it. There is a lot of gap that I feel like can be done via a lot of model training, but it requires extensive compute. That's one. The other gap I feel is in deep tech. A lot of simulation work today in deep tech requires really specialized people that today Claude or Gemini, none of these LLM models can do. Let's say if I want to simulate a model of my thermal floaters on a water body, that requires someone that I have to pay about $30,000 a month for something like this. And his expertise is very specific because it requires a lot of effort to learn a new type of simulation software. And there's hundreds of simulation softwares. It's not just simulation software for water simulation. There's software for thermal simulation, light simulation, software for photon simulation, software for software for like material simulation. There's hundreds of softwares. And for something like our devices, we have to combine all of that expertise. It takes a lot of time to learn each and every single one of those. I feel like AI can really bring that barrier down for people who want to come into deep tech with a lot of these simulation tools. And there's a huge gap. Right now, no one is working on making that gap easier between simulation and giving it to the normal end user. Today, Claude can go build you a Python script, but that Python script can only do so much. It can only account for so many variables. Whereas existing simulation softwares like ANSYS or COMSOL, where these are multi-physics simulation software, there's a huge barrier in trying to learn. Even people who are in this in the industry, even mechanical engineers who learn a lot of this simulation work, people who learn theoretical mechanical engineering are very separate from people who go on and implement them. And schools don't even teach you how to use a lot of the simulation software. It's the companies that you work on where you actually learn how to use this literally on the job. So that barrier is something that I feel people should look to solve. And if no one does, we will go on to solve it one day. Because
Absolutely.
That gap has made our productivity decrease a lot, mainly because we have to spend a lot of time just learning how to use it, which is good. But then if something, let's say, goes wrong in that software, we don't really know how to debug it.
Yeah.
And that takes expertise from people that we can't really afford to pay.
So I guess for
Makes
the
sense.
people who are watching, it's
Listening
your
is the
time
opportunity.
to bridge the gap between simulations and an end user. There is a lot of opportunity, I think, absolutely. So let me ask you one last question under AI and hardware, right? So if, where do you think today in AI hardware people are overtrusting? I mean, in the use of hardware founders, I would say. Where do you think they are overtrusting AI? They shouldn't be. It should be more like a human's work, or do you think it'll, if an AI is used in a particular aspect of work, it'll really bite them later?
I feel like the one feature that has been uh, the most overused is act without asking. It's the ability for code to run while you're not looking at it. And that has a lot of negative benefits when you're deploying, like, let's say bare metal code on an Arduino. You don't know what resistors the cloud is accessing, and it might break your entire Arduino system. Maybe like you trust Claude too much on its wiring diagram. Let's say Claude gives you a wiring diagram, and then you maybe fry your actual computer port because you trusted its wiring diagram because it didn't really go on to research the specs of what you're connecting. And I had this happen with a friend a few days ago. And he was actually connecting like a relay to connecting a relay to his ESP. He connected the power supply directly to the ESP, fried his entire ESP out. So
Yeah.
people who don't really know how hardware works trust AI a lot on how hardware connections work.
Yeah.
And the hallucination in that has a lot of physical implications. Then you have to go buy a new ESP. If it was a more expensive board, like a proper development board that maybe you built on your own, it gets bricked instantly because you trusted how to wire it. And trusting it on really delicate situations like these is really harmful because you give up maybe months of your work by just frying your entire board out by a wrong connection diagram that maybe Claude told you, or maybe Claude uploading some wrong code without you
Yeah.
actually looking at it.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. So maybe now, Pranav, you can take it over
Yeah.
with our next segment.
Yeah, so
'Cause
our
I
next
think-
segment is
yeah.
money and raising, right? So it's like really interesting, and like I'm gonna ask you for the first question is like, when is the right time for a hardware founder to raise, or should he just keep building and like, what's the correct timing?
I don't think that's the right time. Okay, there's not really a difference between a hardware founder and a software founder. The
Yeah.
time you have to raise is the time when you have to put fire, you have to put fuel on the fire. When you already have some spark, that's when you put fuel on that spark to ignite it. That's when you should be raising. Raising should always be used as fuel, and not really as a tool to just have some money so as a backup option. Raising should be used when you want to expand, when you want to
There's some
do
motive
something
behind it.
that when you don't have other sources, then you go and raise. I don't even think that people should just go out and explicitly raise from VCs. You should try to keep your system as bootstrapped as possible because you want to have as much equity to yourself. Raising gives a lot of that, and if you have no other option, that's when you go raise an actual round. And with hardware founders specifically, I'd say the best moment to raise is when you have already started to get some form of customer traction, when customers have already started to believe in the product that you're in, and when customers are already maybe one customer, not even like more than one, just maybe one customer has already started paying some meaningful amount, and that's when you can go maybe get more grants to fund your thing, or maybe get more VC funding because people actually start to believe in the idea once they see a lot of traction, and they believe that hey, if customers are buying it, we believe the customers. Let's actually start to invest in the company, and then maybe you can get returns. So maybe when you start to get these actual customers, that's when you should start to go and raise.
Yeah, makes sense. So, like raising for deep tech and raising for a normal tech or software startup is really different, I guess, because you have to make the investors believe, okay, I'm gonna work for this in 10 years and it's gonna shine off. So, like, what does really go behind it?
Cheap tech is a lot pre-revenue numbers, and it's a very big gamble that these VCs have to play.
Yeah.
The VC that has been able to perfect this is called 50 years. They invest a lot in early stage deep tech founders, but
Yeah.
they don't just invest upfront. So a deep tech idea also needs its business side. And a lot of people who are building deep tech just want to build a solution and not really anything on the business. And I feel like that's what deep tech founders miss out a lot. That's what these VCs help you work on. So if you see any good deep tech VC that's worth its salt, they have an accelerator that actually helps you learn how to actually sell your product to any customer that you're working with, or to find the customers that you can actually sell your deep tech idea to. And these VCs or any academic programs, like in Singapore, we have this program called National Grip that allows you to actually learn, allows researchers to actually learn where and how can they sell their idea.
Yeah.
And this is what allows you to go from that idea to the business stage. And once these VCs have accelerated you into VCs or grants have accelerated you into this accelerated program for deep tech, they believe or they trust in you that if you have been able to get this accelerator done and if you have been able to get more customer traction, then they can put in a lot of money. But you still have to convince the people that your idea can still have a lot more merits, can still make fuck tons of money once it's out. Because at the end of the day, it's all about getting that money in and not making the best idea as you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Also, the last question in this segment I would be asking is like, you have won a lot of grants and prizes, right? And how much has this non-dilutive money mattered to you? Like, and how do you weigh it against taking like investment from VCs?
I love non-dilutive capital mainly because it helps you actually work on the idea. We got a lot of our non-dilutive capital from universities, and we went across the world: MIT, NUS, London Business School, Xiamen University in Malaysia, and then pitched at different universities. And there's few things that we learned. One is, a lot of these events help you connect to a lot more VCs. A lot of VCs are actually scouting in these grant events and talent. These grant events. So that actually helps you in talent acquisition. So once you put yourselves out in these either conferences or in these grants, you put yourself out to the VCs for you to be recognized. And if you win that competition, or if you win that grant, these VCs are more inclined to put more money in you if they believe that these people already trusted in you. And that has actually helped us build a lot of connects across the world by getting grants across MIT and Singapore. And just getting these grants actually helped us build our initial technology. Like, I would never have been able to make this lens that we have today out of my own pockets. And no VC would have given me money to actually build this lens just because of its potential. I feel like that's the academic research and academic grants help you because they believe in more of the academic potential rather than the business case.
Absolutely.
Which is where you can simulate both. Use academic grants to build your technology, and then accelerators, and then competitions and grants to put out a business case for the technology that you're building. And all of this combined right now has actually gotten us to the product stage, which helped us get a lot more pilots, across Singapore, India, and but on the other end, there are bad sides to non-dilutive capital. Non-dilutive capital is very slow.
What do you mean slow?
It takes a lot of time for money to hit the bank.
And how long? Give me like an estimated number.
Some grants can take 8 months, some grants can take 12 months.
Since you've won it, is it?
Since you've won it. Competitions are easier. If you apply for a grant competition, it can take like about 2 months, 3 months maybe. But if you get money from VC, you can get the money within like 2 to 3 weeks. So depends on how.
If you are low on money, if you really need money.
Exactly. But non-dilutive capital can, even though it's slow, it is non-dilutive at the end of the day. You're still not losing out. There are some faster non-dilutive capital, like ones run by VCs. So some of the grants that VCs give out, they're quite fast. They can do within like a few months or a few weeks, and I feel like that is what you should go for if you're if you're going for non-dilutive.
I mean, even with non-dilutive grants, you don't really have anyone to answer to. You don't have someone who's waiting for you to hear about the returns, the revenue, etc. I mean, when
Yes.
a investor backs you, right, you do have a lot of questions to answer to them. They could, I mean, not all investors, but some of them could, want the, some changes that you want to make into your own company. You can't do it because you're being backed by VC.
Exactly. But one thing non-dilutive capital is difficult with is you have to answer to a university. Let's say if you partnered with a university, you still have to show where you're using the money for. And you can't just spend it on quote unquote entertainment, mainly because you wanted to as a company expense. You have to only use it for academic work or research work or whatever you need. And you're limited in that sense. Like, let's say if you have, I feel like that's good for people starting at this stage because it also helps you budget properly for things that you need. And that's where it helps you build up that budgeting skill, that accounting skill needed to actually run proper companies.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing, yeah. So we can go on our next segment, right?
Yeah, it's one of the last segments that it is just... So coming towards the end, right, this is the part where we more talk about what does success look like. So you've gone through, your origin, we've spoken about, your childhood, how you got into it, problems you faced through hardware, deep tech, should people get into it, should people not, etc. What does success look like to you, Sparsh? When do you think, yes, I've made it? Forget valuations. Like, valuations aside, what does success look like for Incy in your head for you?
I define success in a different way. As much as I love money, my success metrics are defined by money specifically. For me, success would look like if I can power an entire city with just my thermal floaters.
Amazing.
If I can let a city run on thermal floaters with my devices 24/7 throughout the week, throughout the month, throughout the year, that's when I believe I have done something good. I have done something successful enough to be able to power an entire city with just what we build. I like to define success in terms of implications that we can have on the world, and I believe the day that we deploy at least like 15 to 20 gigawatts of energy, that's when we have taken over the entire solar industry, and
Amazing.
that's when we become just the base metric for every solar installation, every floating solar installation. I have a separate goal in mind where, as kids, we grew up learning, hey, there are 5 different types of renewables. You have solar, hydro, wind. You have geothermal. I want me to be there. I want myself.
Amazing spot.
I want to be recognized. That is a personal metric where I want to be recognized.
It's amazing.
I want to become such a baseline that I just that our technologies get ingrained in everyday world. It isn't every kid knows what a solar panel is. Every kid should know what our thermal floaters are, and that's when I believe we become successful.
Amazing, Sparsh. So I mean, if the thermal floater works the way it should, and I know it will, and the world in, let's just say, 5 to 10 years, when I land in Singapore, I'm going to see, instead of landed solar panels, I'm going to see a bunch of thermal floaters around. Isn't that also a thought, right? When you were coming, you want to see other kids look out the window, and instead of, just like you saw floating solar panels this time, they're going to see that replaced with
Exactly. They see a complete island just made up of thermal floaters, powering Singapore in its entirety.
Let's do some rapid fire, no? For the last, like just to... Let's see. Okay. What's one tool that you can't live without today?
My multimeter.
Okay. The best advice you have ever got?
Not all advice is good advice. Even from your best mentors, not all advice is good advice, and you should always consider before taking. You should always consider who you take advice from. Even this advice I'm saying right now, you should not take it. But if you believe it's worth to you, you should take it. So not advice is good advice.
Wait, so I know this is rapid fire, but let's just drill down for maybe 30 seconds on that.
Sure.
You're saying don't take advice even from your mentors. What do you think at a certain age you're working on something? Is it instinct? What is it that you know it's right that I take this step? This is whether I take from the advice or not. If I have a certain decision to make, my investor or my mentor is saying do X. How do I know that X is the right answer? Because no one has the answer in the world. There's no right or wrong, right? Like, how would you do it?
Exactly. No one has the right answer, not even your mentor. So how do you believe that whatever he says is the right answer for you? So, I mean, question everything, understand everything, and try everything. Let's say if that it doesn't work, you learn from that experience, right? But you still have to believe something in your gut where you see either you align with whatever your mentors or either whatever the advice is given is what you align with, or either you don't align with it. If you don't align, just try to see if you can actually go on with your own instincts and see if you can make it with your instincts. If you can't, then take the advice, man. Then you know that whatever that person that advice is good. But don't just trust advices blindly.
Yeah.
So question everything.
Absolutely. Thanks, Sparsh. Okay, worst advice you've ever ignored?
Worst advice I ever ignored? Promoting. I've been advised a lot to promote myself on social media and to actually build a personal brand of my own. And as a sort of introvert, I don't like to put myself out as much. So I don't really like to do a lot of the outreach. And I've been advised by a lot of my friends, especially Arman, to do personal branding. But I feel it has hurt me a lot as well in cases where a lot of people don't know, a lot of VCs when they search for me don't know who I am. So building personal brand in those cases is really good. So building your Twitter profiles, building your LinkedIn profiles. I might have some followers on LinkedIn, but I have nothing on Twitter. And all the tech founders are there on Twitter. So it hurts me right now because I want to reach out to some of the people and I have no brand on Twitter for me to reach out with. And that hurts right now.
Are you going to create one?
I'll create. I'm definitely going to improve on right now because I've seen how it hurts.
Because even for us, one of our common friends, Akshit, he was telling me, Shreyas, I think you should start a personal brand on social media, start creating content. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know what's the right or wrong answer to that.
You're creating content right now, but yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, so the next one. One thing you would tell 11-year-olds.
Give up.
Give up?
Yeah, give up.
Why?
Why?
I wouldn't want anyone to go through such a harsh journey. And I work out of spite. If I spite myself, I know I'll work even harder. So if I say myself to give up, two things happen. Either I give up and then work on something nice, get a stable job, or either I work even harder just to prove myself wrong and then become even better. So
that's what's
give up works
happen.
2 ways.
And I mean, give up for you is working in the second way. You're going to channel that in energy. What's a company or a build? Okay, one company and one builder who you admire, right?
One company and one builder.
Just start with the company, for example.
Okay. Lots of companies. Very interesting. There's someone I really admire, and it's James Dyson.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Amazing.
I look up to both Dyson and James Dyson, and I've always admired both his work. That's the reason I got motivated to apply to the James Dyson Award multiple times.
5,700 prototypes.
Yeah, 5,700 prototypes, so many failures. The sheer amount of resilience that man had motivated me to never give up on whatever I do. And even in my harshest moments, I remember that he didn't give up, why should I? So I feel like he has had a lot of impact on me and built such a cool company, abide by his philosophy. I still look up to him.
I love that. I think every single hardware founder, every single founder, anything, the main thing that they should know is not to give up. At least if they believe in what they're building and if they believe in themselves and if they believe in their co-founders. I think that's the most important. And I think a lot of noise from people outside should be cut out. Whether it's positive, whether it's negative, right? I think it's all about that.
Okay, so towards the last question for the rapid fire. Where should people go to follow you and Incy for the future journey, and what are you doing in the future?
You can follow me on LinkedIn. My
Yeah.
name is just Sparsh. You can see the LinkedIn on the screen right now.
Yeah, and we will add it in the description.
Yeah, all in the descriptions. Yeah, and my socials will be in the descriptions. Yeah, would love to chat with any of you if you
Yeah.
want advice.
So all
if
of you
want to
guys
chat.
who are watching, who want to build on hardware, like he said, he's open. You guys can just mail him, message him on LinkedIn. Probably one of the craziest and amazing guys you guys are going to get advice from. But I think that's what all the community is about, right? Like in the startup, since me and Pranav are building a company, the amount of advice and help we've gotten from people in the community is just amazing.
Yeah,
And I
it's
think
really
that's
good.
what it's all about, right? Like the community that's built around, just software, hardware, and then at the end, just the startup community itself.
Exactly. And if it were never for that committee, we would have never met.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, we met randomly in an investor's house. I mean, that's just the way it is, right? And today,
Exactly.
we're making this podcast, another cool friends. I mean, experiences, and that's all. That's what this whole experience really creates. And that's why I love it. That's why I really love it.
Yeah.
So, Sparsh, I think that's it for today. Thank you so much
Yeah,
for joining us.
Something else to add on, like
Thank you so much for having me, man.
Yeah,
Love
so
it being
episode
here.
1 is over.
Yeah.
This is, we really appreciate you having here. Amazing insights, amazing journey. And me and Pranav are personally, and I'm sure
Yeah.
everyone who's watching really, really are looking forward to seeing the thermal floaters every time they
Yeah.
land in Singapore, land anywhere in
Yeah.
Asia, anywhere in the world.
Yes,
I would
sir.
be excited. I want to see Incy written over it.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
What has motivated you guys to do Robocred?
That's a great question.
What has motivated you to do this specific podcast itself?
Okay.
Okay. You wanna go ahead?
Okay, answering your first question, Robocred. Me and Pranav were in China and we were working with Deep Robotics. And we were trying to solve insurance for robotics, so like dynamic insurance premium. And we were just trying to get an understanding of end-to-end deployment for robots. And that's when we realized compliance was extremely manual. And we were like, dude, who the hell wants to do such manual tasks and why is it done today? We have done manual tasks before, right? Like a lot of things, be it writing essays, be it reading 1,000 pages. This one was reading hundreds and hundreds of documents, match your physical hardware, match it to the clauses and see if it complies. And we did that work. We went and mapped it to IEC 60204 for one company we're working with. And we were like, what is this? Why can't we automate this entire process? Why can't we create, that's how Robocred was born, right? We're like, let's automate compliance. Gone through a lot of pivots and today we're an AI native service, but we really want to change the way deployment works. For people like you, dude, me and Pranav are people who love hardware, right? And we want to empower hardware to be easier, not just so building is difficult, but deploying is not, I wouldn't say equally difficult, but it's such a hard journey. We've spoken to people who've spent too much time to deploy, right? And we're like, dude, we need to change that. Changing deployment. So Robocred is a compliant. Right now, the wedge into the market is compliance, but we really want to change the way hardware deployment works.
And I want to know, like, I don't just add on to this is basically like everybody's building like crazy hardware, deep tech, robotics, but nobody's actually building the infrastructure to hold that.
Yeah.
You're an engineer, you will make the good product, but who will actually take it to the market? You will obviously face problems. You took like 2 years to make the product, now you're taking 2 more years to just deploy it. And you're going to change the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And why we're doing this podcast is because we want to hear from people like you. I've been so obsessed with hardware, Sparsh, you don't even get it. I mean, when I came to your house, I was digging through your hardware, your electronics, just like, what the hell? So many ESP Xiao S3s. I'm like, whoa, amazing. So many camera modules, right? Like, I have been so motivated with hardware, building since a kid. I used to go open every single laptop that was there at home, which was not going to be used, every single electronic device. And I'm like, today, to hardware founders who had the same story and now we're actually building hardware like you, I want to hear their story and I want their story to go out to more people in hardware so they can get empowered to do hardware. They can be encouraged at an earlier age. They can be encouraged in middle school, in high school, in college. It's never too late to start. I've had doubts that, hey, is it too late to start? No, it's not. You can be 20 and 25 and still start, 30 and still start. Don't you think?
Some people also have questions like, I'm too young to start it. Like, I don't have the skills. I don't have the resources to start it, but I think you should just go ahead, try to learn, and just go.
Exactly.
Start building it.
The best mindset is fuck it, we ball and ball.
There you have it,
That's
guys.
amazing. So I think the title of this podcast should be "Fuck It, We Ball."
Okay. For all the middle schoolers who are watching, absolutely not. But yes,
Yes. Awesome. Love chatting with you guys. And
thank you so much.
Yeah, and if any one of your viewers want to learn more about the podcast, or want to learn more about Robocred, visit the link in the description.
Okay,
Thank you so
thank
much.
you. Thank you.